Welcome to Mini Stories Part 1.
Ooh, Mini Stories Part 1.
I know. We're branching off onto it's going to be a regularish kind of subject where we basically devote the episode to mini crimes.
It's going to be a smorgasbord of mini crimes.
To be fair, they're not small crimes. They're fucking horrible crimes because they're crimes.
Yeah.
But they're little amounts of information.
Well, we couldn't get a whole episode out of them. Out of one of them, so we're going to put them together.
And if there are ones that we decide are so interesting, we want to look at more into them, or if we find more information, we might dedicate an episode to them later on. Who knows? But we don't know what each of us are going to talk about, so we're going to take in turns telling each other mini stories.
So I'm Chris,
and I'm Christian.
This is Echo On with True Crime Tapas.
True Crime. Right, so we'll delve straight into it. And Chris, I believe you have a first story to tell me. I'm sitting comfortably. I'm in my pajamas. I have my duvet wrapped up around me and a massive erection.
Welcome to London, 1681.
Ooh.
We've got a man known as Whipping Tom.
Whipping Tom.
Call
right.
it Whipping Tom.
Okay, so what did Whipping Tom do?
Whipping Tom. So that was a name that was given to a serial spanker operating in London in 1681.
Spanker.
Yeah. So there's reference to a spanking Tom previous to him, and there's also a spanking Tom a little bit later. But
Is everyone called Tom a spanker?
This is the main Whipping Tom and a serial spanker.
So when you say serial spanker, you mean someone who keeps running up to people, spanking them on the butt?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've written, this is what I've written. He would mostly spank around Fleet Street, Strand, and Holborn.
Okay, so that's a weird three places.
No, they're near each other, and that's central London where he operated in 1681. So he would apparently he would hang around in the shadows,
of course,
jump out on his hapless victims, lift their skirts, and give them a spanking on the bum.
Okay.
So the first recorded incidents, he apparently jumped out on this servant maid, laid her across his knee, smacked her on her bum, and then disappeared. And she commented how he was just there and then he was gone.
But let's break this down. He pulled a woman over his knee, so he sat down on something.
Well, that's what I don't know.
Slapped her and then disappeared.
Or maybe he did like a lunge, like a lunging motion.
Okay.
So he had like a knee to stand on.
I think at this point we're getting too involved in the specifics of this story.
I am. Also, I'm doing a seated lunge.
You are
to demonstrate, but no one can see. So he would either use his hand or a rod. So he would jump a rod. Yep,
okay,
like a rod of willow.
Oh right, not like his rod.
Not his rod, no. And often he would accompany the attack with the shout of "Spanko."
Spanko. Right. Spanko is the old English word for someone who is spanked.
Spanko.
You're a spanker because there's a spanker and a spanko. That's the old English for it.
Oh, okay.
How I know that, I fucking don't know.
Spanky and spanko.
But it's not spanky, it's spanko.
Spanko.
So he was running up, shouting spanko at them.
Yes.
While spanking
their bottoms with either like rods or his hand.
So it's obviously quite a fleeting crime for him. Like run up, spank him, fuck off.
Yeah.
So would you count that as a sexual crime?
Well, I think it probably was. So, like, it was described by the description of him as a large black man, but what they said is didn't mean he was like a black person. He was dressed entirely in black and hid in the shadows, jumped out.
Okay, and shouted
Spanko.
I really hope he had a weird voice. Spanko. Just carry on, please.
That's okay. It's not a very long story. In 1681, they found a haberdasher from Holborn and an accomplice, and they found him guilty.
So they actually found?
Yeah, they found him.
Whipping Tom.
Whipping Tom.
Was his name Tom?
No, I don't think it was. It was just a nickname they gave him in the press because they didn't know who he was. Unfortunately.
Tom was the generic name for a person like John is now for
like a John Doe.
Yeah, but no, Tom was the.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was Spanking Tom, and unfortunately, there's no record survived of the trial. We don't know who he was. We don't know what happened to him. Nothing.
Oh, Spanko.
But what I've also written in capital letters with an exclamation mark is Spanko. So you imagine? I mean, it's awful because if you're a woman in the area, you would be really scared. You'd be really scared because it's funny to us.
It's funny to us in retrospect because we're picturing some kind of like obviously oldie worldy kind of Jack the Ripper kind of time where somebody jumps out from the shadows, but instead of murdering a prostitute and cutting her to bits, he slaps her on the butt and shouts "Spanko."
In my mind as well, like it's a really tall guy dressed in black, but he's on his tiptoes and he's like jumps around everywhere.
Does
Like
he have a twiddly moustache?
Probably has a twiddly moustache. Spanko.
But I mean, this is a complete white male view of it, because when you hear about a guy jumping out, spanking women, and then shouting "Spanko," it makes it funny, and you completely forget the
To me,
point
it's like
of
a Monty
the
Python character.
Instead of like, probably the people this happened to probably ruined their lives, and we're sitting here laughing at it. To be fair, I don't feel guilty about it because he shouted "Spanko." He's endeared
And do you know
himself
what?
to me.
Also, when they were trying to catch him, what would happen was women were scared to go out on their own, so men would dress in women's clothes and walk around, patrol the area to try and act as like a honey trap.
You say that as if it's like a really funny thing. American police officers still to this day do that.
But the men do it.
Yes.
All right. I thought they
in
just
fact,
sent their
even to the
women
point where
officers out.
I'm going to relate it to another fucking film that no one cares about and no one's seen. Child's Play.
Oh yeah.
The serial killer at the beginning was all up against women, so the police officer got dressed up in women's clothes to try and entrap him. That's a deleted scene, but the fact that it is actually a prevalent thing, because I suppose it's not necessarily now, because we know for a fact women are hard as fucking nails.
Yeah, just send a fucking hard woman out, like beat the shit out of you.
Whereas like back then it's like, I must do a woman's.
I'm going to protect the women, so I'm going to dress up.
And of course there were no women on the police force back then.
No.
So
men dressed up in
waiting to get spanked
in skirts to try and honey trap El Spanko.
I really hope
not El Spanko. Oh, no, he's not Spanish.
No, he's
Spanish. El Spanko.
But I really hope that the police officers who did that were the most manly looking fat guys,
like 6'4",
but
like
big beards, and like, oh, I'm a woman.
18 stone.
Nobody's spanking me. Why not? Yeah, but Spanko. Oh,
Spanko. So that was our.
I like that. I like that story. Thank you.
So that's our first true crime
made me
tapas
happy.
today. They did find him. We don't know who he was, but when I read it, I couldn't. When I read about this, I couldn't not talk about it.
I feel all right. And for this one, because we've
I want
had
a T-shirt that says Spanko with an exclamation mark across the front.
merch idea.
Spanko.
Should we just tame we're not Echo On anymore with the Spanko podcast?
Spanko cast.
Spanko. No, that sounds completely.
No, let's not do that. Okay, Echo On.
But I'm gonna bring it down. I'm gonna take the joy out of the room.
That's not like you, Christian.
I know. I do that when I
like
walk
a
in.
joy sponge.
But we're basically going to go on to the skin case.
Oh, I don't know what this is.
The skin case. This. It's
you told me you found this, and I said, "Don't tell me anymore. I want to hear it for the first time."
So basically, Katarzyna Zowada.
Easy for you to say.
No, it isn't. I probably pronounced it completely fucking wrong, and I'm really sorry to all Polish people. She's a 23-year-old Polish student studying religion at the university in Krakow in Poland. She disappeared without a trace from there in 1998. In January,
studying fiction.
She was studying fiction,
fictional literature.
So any fucking answer was done. Like,
sorry, I get off my.
God doesn't exist. He died in January 1999. Now here's where accounts vary. Either a sailor was on a tugboat and noticed something strange floating in the sea, or something was caught in a propeller of a ship.
What year did you say this was, sorry?
This is 1999.
99. That's very recent then.
There's very little actual news reporting about this. So basically, something was stuck in the propeller, or they found it. This was in the Vistula River in Krakow, and basically it was a long, foul-smelling thing, apparently, that was pale and spotted. When you get a closer look...
reminds me of something.
Is it long?
But it's foul smelling and spotty.
But then they looked
my
into
probably
it
gonna listen to
and
this.
originally thought it was a dead fish or something until they noticed part of it was a human ear.
Now I feel bad for making a joke.
Which belonged basically. The strange thing, it was just the skin of Katarzyna. Karazyna, sorry. It was just a skin, or more precisely, a human outfit made from her skin.
A human suit.
Now, she was basically decapitated and dismembered before the killer had fashioned her skin into a suit. Only the skin and basically only the skin was ever recovered. They said that the skin had been neatly cut away at the thighs and neck, reaching up to her left ear, but the suit did not include face or arms, and it had been worn. It had been worn. Her nipples were also bizarrely absent.
Oh, so it is. Oh.
So basically, it was a human suit that was worn that was basically like an overalls but without arms. It was like quite weird. The coroner said the remains had been in the water for about 2 or 3 weeks before she was found, and the pathologist determined that she'd been tortured severely before her death.
Oh.
Botanists examined the remains and determined that she was killed elsewhere before being dumped in the river. Obviously, because he made a fucking suit out of it.
The botanists, they just look at the bottom bit.
The bottom bits, yes. The bottomists, yes.
Botanists, that's right. That's what you said, wasn't it?
The case went on for several years and ran dry, and the case was closed. In 2017, they arrested Robert J. Troff. Now, this is not a Polish name, but I can't find out. Now, this is where it goes fucking ridiculous, because there's no actual news reports about really what happened exactly. About Robert J. Troff, there is some things. As far as we know, he's still awaiting trial, but he stated that he's being harassed and insulted by prison guards, a move that has infuriated the officers and prosecutors. And
he's being insulted.
I know.
Like,
fucking do that suit. Shit, mate.
Clothes of shit.
But they revealed that they're going to add lying to the police and falsely accusing the prison guards to the charges. Why? Why would you bother? He's up for murder and torture of a woman. But he lived near the riverbank where she was found. According to people around him, he was a rebellious kid at school. He was kicked out of school. He used to torture dogs and cats. He was called weirdo. He used to train in martial arts. He was in the army. He used to work in a morgue. And there was rumors of him being eccentric.
He sounds it, yeah.
I mean, obviously. Yeah. But he's also said to have worn women's underwear and had... but fair enough. I mean, you wear women's underwear, but...
He went from wearing women's underwear to wearing women.
I know. He's fucking... But the rumours are he got very religious after her death. Like, suddenly developed religion. But they only arrested him because they got a letter from his friend who named him as the murderer because apparently he told her. Also, there's a supposition that he confessed to the priest, his local priest. But that doesn't hold water because priests, by their nature of what they do, are not allowed to tell the police about a crime that's been committed. If they are...
if it's in confession, like as a Catholic or whatever.
But basically, and all they say, prosecutors said his motive was primarily sexual. But despite the media attention and increased police interest every few years, a perpetrator has never actually been tried for the murder and convicted. And that's all we know. For all we know now, because it's like a couple of years later, there's somebody might have been tried. It's Poland. We don't know. There's not. They don't.
That's really interesting. I'm gonna have to look into this.
But there are pictures of the skin. Ugh. It doesn't. To be fair, it just looks like a massive. Blur. You can't see an ear. You can't. So this is another one where there's so little information. It sounds like the beginning of a film.
Yeah, absolutely. Found the skin. Yeah.
But I just found it really interesting that was... I would love there to be a fuckload more information because this is a whole episode.
That's a whole episode if we had more stuff because presumably you don't go from nothing to a human suit.
No, I mean...
There should be some kind of escalation before that.
But why would anyone reporting this not try and find out why the fuck he made a human suit and why he threw it away in water? Yeah, I mean, was he in a boat and dropped it? I mean...
Geen kept all of his stuff.
But Geen was a weird one because he never actually believed he did anything wrong, apart from take the till from that cash register. Yeah. He only thought that was the thing he did wrong. He was meant.
Wasn't that the thing that he admitted to when they came? He thought they were coming because he.
But they were looking at everything in his fucking house. He's going, I didn't mean to take it, dude. You've got dead bodies around the house, and you've got a cup that you're drinking out of made of a fucking skull.
I can see nipples on your belt. Yeah. You've got a belt made entirely of nipples. There's that woman from the shop where you stole it. She's downstairs, dressed like a hunted deer.
Yeah, strung up, cut down from the groin to the gullet. I mean,
those pictures are horrible.
They're fucking gross. But then again, he didn't believe he did anything wrong. This Robert J. Troff, who doesn't sound Polish.
Donald J. Trump, did you say?
Troff.
Oh, not Donald J. Trump.
No.
Oh, right, okay.
But no, it's like it reads that the first part was a film. The second part, it sounds like somebody trying to build a story about a bad guy, but not knowing how to do it. Like sitting there going, oh, he's a weirdo. He did martial arts. He tortured some animals, and he says prison guards take the piss out of him. Like, fuck off. But yeah, that's my really depressing story.
It really is. But it is really interesting. And the thing is, pointing out also though, one of these things is not like the other. Like saying that he tortured animals, that's a big indicator of future serial killers and stuff like that. Doing martial arts and being a bit weird, maybe liking heavy metal, I don't find that strange.
But if somebody finds somebody weird, that's not an indicator. That's basically, you might as well just say, well, his head's a certain shape.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, everyone's weird to someone.
I'd like martial arts and true crime.
You're a weirdo. Do you wear human suits? But
Only
do
on
you
the
weirdly
weekend.
cut off the nipples? I like the fact that
No,
that was the weird part.
I keep them on because my nipples are terrible.
But not that he built a suit of human skin, but then didn't use the arms. I find that weirder than not having nipples, because he was sitting there going, nah, dungarees is the way to go, mate. Like, really? Really?
Human dungarees.
Human dungarees. That's what he made.
Fucking hipster. What a dick.
But yeah, now...
Poor woman. Also, don't forget, like, poor fucking terrible woman that had that. And he tortured her first as well. It's fucking awful.
Yeah, but that's the fact that it says that's what I hate about it. I like about it, but I hate about it. The fact that it says that they found out they've discovered she was tortured beforehand. That's where the information ends.
Yeah.
Part of me sits there and goes, I want to know how tortured, how long for, why,
Yeah, what was it? What happened?
What was the circumstances.
Where did I think her...
But I know if I did, it would just bum me out. It would be like, I just don't want to know that. But I also kind of hope that, because reading about that Robert J. Truffers, how much information is there, he just seems like a really sad piece of shit. Whereas, like, I kind of wish that these people were like Albert Fish, and then there was a whole reveal of, and he had loads of needles in his butthole. You know, that's the kind of thing I want to happen. Like, you sit and go, they're so fucking ludicrous.
You want a gooch like a pincushion.
Basically, yeah, that's the kind of thing I expect.
Gooch. I want to start a grindcore band called Pinkish and Gooch.
Well, we have started one now. It's the official Echo One band.
Pinkish
Wait, no,
and
that's something else.
No, that's Textile.
Don't say that.
We'll be active again in April.
We
That'll
will
be fun.
You can see us on tour. We'll do a podcast in tune.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, tell me on your next story.
So my next one. So the first one I'd mentioned to Christian, so he knew Spanko, but he didn't know anything. This one is another really short one. It made me laugh, and I couldn't. Luckily, no one dies in this one as well, so it's kind of okay to laugh at.
It's not really a true crime, then, is it?
So I'm not going to tell you the header of it that I've written down because it will give it away. So March 4th this year.
Oh,
East Deer Township, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
At approximately 9 a.m. Monday the 4th of March, a state trooper was waved down and told about a possible medical emergency on Route 28 near the East Deer Township. The victim told the trooper that he was driving his minivan, so I think that's just like a minibus or like a people carrier, we would call it, I guess, with his passenger, 25-year-old Clayton something Weiss, I can't read my handwriting, and who reached over and started choking him. So this guy was driving, and his passenger reached over and started choking him. When they tried to arrest Lucas, he wouldn't listen, so the trooper had to sweep his legs out from him, get him on the ground to control him. Now, so they had to get to this, and they were like, what happened? Like, why did he try and strangle you on March the 4th? So basically spring. Why did he try and strangle you? The victim told the trooper he tried to strangle him because he was singing Christmas songs and he was trying to get him to stop. He wouldn't stop singing Christmas songs, so the guy reached across
with what he did
and tried to strangle him.
I agree. If somebody is singing Christmas songs in March, you're allowed to throttle them. Wait, no, that's bad to say. But
the victim almost passed out, and he had bloodshot, and his eyes were all bloodshot, and he had all marks on his neck.
So it's literally a very violent.
He almost killed him.
So what happened to the guy who did it?
So Lucas is facing multiple charges, but it only happened in March the 4th. We're recording this on March the 15th.
So it's fucking hell. It was literally very recent.
Yeah, it was 11 days ago. When I wrote this down, it was like a week before.
Fuck.
Yeah, I found it. I was like, I have to talk about this. So like, Lucas is facing multiple charges. Obviously, he should. But Christmas in March. I struggle with Christmas in Christmas.
But it also depends what was he singing. I mean, was he doing like sort of Merry Christmas everyone? Was he doing a Slade number, or was he just going with Chris Rea and really bumming everyone out? I wish it could be Christmas every day. I mean, that'd be fine.
Maybe he was doing the was that Wizard, wasn't it? Wizard Wombles. I wish it could be a Wombly Merry Christmas every day.
Then he deserves to be strangled.
That's way too much Christmas and Wombles together at the same time.
Or he was just doing some weird fucking hymn about Jesus having a bumming a sheep or something.
Christmas time. What was he singing? That Band-Aid Live Aid thing. So that was a short one, but I had to talk about it because
I know, that's good.
And I had to lead up to the because I've got the headline in highlighted, which is man chokes driver who wouldn't stop singing Christmas songs in March.
Well, I was going to do another story. I'm just going to do a very quick one. I'm not going to do names or anything. It's just because there's very little evidence about any of this. Guy runs into a bank. Was meant to have his hand in his coat, using his finger as a gun. Didn't. Just had his hand out with his finger and tried to stick at the bank. They
So
laughed.
he forgot that he was meant to be making it look gun-shaped under his...
Yep,
And just made a trigger, like,
they
gun
all
sign
laughed.
at him.
They all laughed. So he walked out of the bank and then robbed another bank, remembering to put it in his pocket. So it's just
what a dick.
I know. There's and there's also a guy that ran into the bank and said, "Fick 'em up, mother stickers." And they all laughed and he left and he actually had a gun.
He should have when they laughed. He should have gone. He should have said, "Pobody said I was Nerfic."
No. But yeah, I'm gonna go. That was just a couple of quick ones in there to lighten up the mood before I go. This actually isn't a terrible one. There's no murder involved. It's about Carl Tanzler in Key West, Florida, in the 1930s.
Florida man.
He basically fell in love with a young Cuban-American woman called Maria.
Who wouldn't?
And she was dying of tuberculosis.
Oh, that's sad.
He felt, though, he was so obsessed with it, he felt they were destined to be together.
Okay. I reckon this is going to end well.
But despite that, he was already married with a kid. But anyway, he wasn't going to let a little thing like death get in the way. So
I've got a good feeling about this one.
Oh, I know.
I think this is going to end really well.
Well, he took it upon himself to care for her and treat her condition.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
he convinced the family that his concoctions, because he was a bit of an inventor, would work. And he could even set up X-ray equipment in a parent's home for treatment.
That sounds fine.
X-rays do not treat.
No.
So that's a bit of a... But anyway, she died.
Oh.
She died.
Oh, no, I'm sad.
But then he convinced the family to let him pay for the funeral, which
Okay.
is very nice.
That's lovely
very
of
nice. But he built a mausoleum for her in the cemetery, which is, okay, fine. He was really obsessed by her, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
Still married with the kid. And he spent nearly every night visiting her body.
Okay.
After 2 years, he took her body out of the grave and dragged it on a toy wagon back to his house.
Well, that's a toy wagon.
A toy wagon. Her next resting place was his home,
That's not weird at
where
all.
he lived with, danced with, and even slept with her corpse. But he was dedicated to her preservation.
Well, you can't spell dedicated without dead.
Yeah. He filled her body with rags to maintain its shape.
Obviously.
He kept her skeleton intact with piano wire and coat hangers. He replaced her decomposed eyes with glass.
Yes.
And patched
Obviously.
her rotting flesh up with silk, wax, and plaster.
Yes. Why
He
wouldn't
even
you?
fashioned a wig for her out of her own hair that he got from her mother, who gifted it to him at her death.
Wait. There's so many bits like on that one.
But
So the mother had a collection of her daughter's hair and then went as a gift, like, sorry,
She's
my
dead.
daughter's
Have
dead,
some hair.
but here's loads of hair.
I know.
That's weird. What
but,
did he?
But then he took his eccentricity to the next fucking level.
What? Wait.
That isn't as eccentric as it goes.
So he made. He
preserved the body in the most ridiculous
He
fashion.
fucking Weekend at Bernie's her,
Yep.
and then made her into like a human doll, not like human or an actual human doll, and then it got weirder.
He had plans to create, and he did create, and I have a picture of it, and I'll put it in the description, a spacecraft
Okay.
to fly her corpse into the stratosphere
Yep.
so that the radiation from outer space could penetrate her tissue
Yep.
and restore it.
That sounds fine.
You'll see this in the description, but there is the spacecraft.
That looks.
It looks like a wooden monstrosity.
Eleanor's airship.
Yeah, that's what he wrote on it. But then basically 7 years later, 7 years this went on.
Fucking hell.
7 years later, Eleanor's sister, Maria Eleanor her name was, but her sister stormed into the house after figuring something was wrong, discovered the body.
Shit.
The authorities were brought in, but due to the statute of limitations on grave robbing,
Oh God.
he was off the hook.
Fucking
The
hell.
curious case became a spectacle in the Florida Keys.
The curious case.
Curious case.
That's alliteration.
I know. Oh, that's what it is. But where her corpse, afterwards, her corpse was placed on public display at the local funeral home. Over 6,000
I'm surprised.
people came to view this wax figurine that he created.
I'm surprised when I went to Ripley's Believe It or Not in Orlando, they didn't just have it there.
Yeah.
It sounds
But,
right up the street.
Even weirder than all that, the public sympathised with him. Nobody held Tanzler accountable and all went, well, yeah, of course he loved her. But this is the... All right. This is the next bit I
you
find
keep going
funny.
like, oh yeah, and then this bit.
But yeah,
Go
but
on.
look, she was eventually returned to an unmarked grave in the same cemetery in Key West Cemetery, not in the mausoleum he built.
Been to Key West.
Tanzler moved to Pasco County, Florida. I don't know why I find this funny. His wife that he had,
Oh, yeah.
then supported him.
Oh, she's very understanding.
And for the rest of his life. Even though he was still enamored with Maria Elena, and he then lived with a life-size replica of him.
What?
Not made of that, but he created a life-size
he
replica.
made a life-size replica of her.
And the estranged wife supported him. Didn't live with him, but supported him.
Oh, God.
What a fucking... But let's go back to this, the fact of creating a spaceship because the stratosphere has radiation that can rejuvenate tissue.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I learned that in science. That sounds like physics.
But that was my second...
I'm pretty sure Brian Cox talked about that on one of his science documentaries, his physics things.
I don't think he did.
I may have lied.
You may have lied. But anyway, I want to hear your next one.
Okay, so this next one is... I can't really compete with that. I found it interesting, but now it sounds shit. But I thought it was funny anyway. This is the Russia-Estonia vodka pipeline.
The what?
Russia-Estonia vodka pipeline. Yeah. So I got this out of my Doyle and Kinsley crime book that I've got.
Yeah.
If anyone has this, it's on page 57. So with Estonia having freshly joined the EU, I can't remember. 2004 this happened. With Estonia having freshly joined the EU, a Russian-led group of 11 Russians and Estonians, but it's Russian-led, had a great idea. They had a really good idea. They fucking love vodka.
I've heard this.
The Russians do, the Estonians do, that kind of the ex-Soviet place, love a bit of vodka.
Cheap to produce, gets you
cheap
flattered.
and cheap in Russia. However, Estonia, newly EU members, very expensive. So they thought, why not build a 2 kilometre long pipeline from neighbouring Russia and pipe in vodka?
I don't see a problem with this.
So vodka in Russia is much cheaper than Estonia, and by building the illegal pipeline, they could get cheap vodka, but also avoid any duty on it.
Yeah.
So it's tax free, and they were like, "Great! Like, we'll pipe it in over the border, obviously, sell it cheap. It'll be amazing." So the tax department, what could go wrong? So the tax department official, he found 1,159 litres of illegal alcohol in a truck in Tallinn, the capital of Estonia. So this didn't happen in Tallinn, it happened in a border town.
All right, fair enough.
Then,
I was about to say that would be a long fucking
That's a very long
pipeline.
way. It's only 2 kilometres. It just went over the border. But then they put it in a truck and they go to Tallinn because it's the capital. We'll get rid of all our vodka there, of course. So when they found this, it led them to discover the gang and their pipeline. They managed to pipe in 6,200 litres before they were caught.
That's
6,200 litres of vodka into...
I don't think I could drink that in my lifetime.
They reckon they avoided $102,000 in excise duty. This was August to November 2004. That's what it was. I said that and Christian legitimately nearly spat beer all over the microphone.
I was expecting this to be like the 60s.
No, it was 2004, August
But then I
to
realised
November.
you said they joined the EU. So
August to November 2004. So the pipeline, it went, I think it was above ground, then it went like through a lake or something, so it went underwater so you couldn't see it.
How long would it take to build that?
I don't know. Like, I love this bit though. So they tried to sell all of their alcohol in Tallinn, but the vodka was so shit and cheap that nobody would buy it. They couldn't find a single buyer. So they managed to go to a city called Tartu, which is the second largest city in Estonia, but it's a largely students' town. So which I just fucking love. They couldn't sell it in the capital city, so what do we do? Let's go to a fucking student town and sell them cheap vodka. I don't care if they go fucking blind.
If you've got Red Bull, they'll fucking love it.
Yeah. So that is that story. Again, it's really short, but I just couldn't ignore it. I thought it was so good. 2 kilometres.
I love the fact that somebody would, like, bear in mind that if somebody said, all right, we needed to get liquid for over 2 kilometres, we've got to build a pipeline. I would literally, part of the fact I have no fucking idea how to do that. Let's say I did know how to do that. You've got to think they've got to lay 2 kilometres of piping. Even if it's a tiny, like, copper piping, we don't know how thick the pipe was.
But it's 2 kilometres of it without anyone noticing.
And that means they've got to, like, at one point where the border is, it's probably an unmanned border. Granted, but why could they just drive a van?
There's a bunch of Russians and Estonians building an above ground.
But somebody must have seen this happening and being built.
I picture all these like Russians at one end just pouring vodka.
Yeah, but from bottles. It's from bottles.
Yeah, from bottles, and then the other end with like a hand pump, like to get out the end. And also, you're going to go to all that trouble
for shit vodka.
Just get like okay vodka.
Was it like Red Label Smirnoff?
Apparently,
like everyone goes,
no, it must have been worse than that because no one would drink it. They couldn't find a single buyer. They had to find students.
Just make some in your bathtub. I mean,
Just
if you're at that point-
just spend a bit of money. You're buying it in large quantities.
Yeah.
So yeah, how much
Brilliant.
did I say? Just to reiterate, 6,200 liters.
Just picture 6,200 bottles, litre bottles. I mean, that's. I don't think I've seen that many bottles in my life.
No, that's a lot of vodka.
A lot
But yeah,
of
again,
vodka.
Very short, but I just love that story. Human ingenuity, though, like
I've got to say, from a point of view of like, I admire them.
yeah, a lot of effort.
I mean, that's a lot of effort for not being able to sell a bottle.
Yeah, to sell it off to students.
Wow. But then again, students will buy anything. The next one I've got is Blanche Monnier, who was born in 1849. She's obviously from she's from Poitiers, France. She was a French socialite from a well-respected family in Poitiers. In 1876, at the age of 25, she wanted to marry a lawyer, but her mum was not approving. And her mum says that Monnier could not marry a penniless lawyer. So what did she do?
What did she do?
She locked her in a tiny room in the attic where no sunlight get in and kept her secluded for 25 years.
Obviously.
So basically trapped her in a house in a sunless room for 25 years, and her brother was in on it. They continued on with their daily lives pretending to mourn the loss, saying she died.
Oh.
And her friends, none of her friends knew where she was, obviously,
Because they thought she was dead.
And the lawyer that she wished to marry eventually died in 1885. But
I love it, we would rather, instead of you get married to someone you love, we would rather you were basically dead.
And basically, in 1901, the Paris Attorney General received an anonymous letter that revealed the incarceration. So she was rescued by the police from apparently appalling conditions. Her mum was arrested, became shortly ill afterwards, and died 15 days after seeing an angry mob in front of her house.
Good, fuck her.
Her brother appeared in court, was initially convicted, but was later acquitted on appeal because they criticised his choices, but they found that a duty to rescue didn't exist in the penal code at the time when he was doing this. Okay. So they said, well, you can't be held accountable for your actions, blah, blah, blah.
So actually, it's a shame the mum died because she would have been...
She would have been completely accountable. I think that he was mentally disabled of some kind, but it wasn't a discernible at the time of what it was. But obviously, Blanche continued to suffer from mental health problems. And Sue led to her admission in psychiatric hospital in Boise, France.
Sunlight was probably a bitch as well.
I know, where she died at the age of 63. And I'll put this in the things. Here's a picture of her when they found her.
Oh, that's hot. That's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
Terrible.
She was completely insane by the time they found her.
It reminds me of The Exorcist.
Yeah. No, it's like...
And not to be mean, it doesn't look real. It looks like a fake picture.
But it sort of goes to the whole thing of like what...
I've actually read this story as well previously.
Yeah, but it's what a lot of true
awful.
crime is based on, with the perpetrator of the crime believing it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But then from anyone else's perspective, it's like you fucking did a big leap of faith there to say this is the right thing to do. And also, you've locked someone up you've ruined someone's life because they don't want to marry someone you don't like.
Yeah. And like, so do you think as well, like, it's like they went, okay, you can't marry him, we'll lock you in the room, and then it got too far.
Maybe. I mean, how long does it go to where you just go, well, I've got to keep her there now?
Well, you know, if you don't catch someone's name the first time you meet them, and then you see them every day at work, and then you get, like a week later, you're like, well, this has gone too far, I can't ask their name now.
I do have a way around this. I've used it before.
Yeah, go on.
Because I've suffered from that before. I've gone, what the fuck can I do with that on their name? So I walked up to them and said, what's your name again? And they just went, and said what their name was. I went, no, I know your first name. Sorry, I meant your surname. I have no fucking idea what your surname is.
Smooth motherfucker.
Yeah, so that's how I did it. And they fell for it. And then I got drunk and told them about 3 weeks later. So I was like,
see, I just go I go mate or dude, or if I'm at work, I try and catch a glimpse of their work ID without looking like I'm weirdly staring at their midsection.
But this is why all my friends have got the same name as me. They're all called Chris in some way. So that's how I could do it. Just call everyone Chris. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's why my girlfriend's called Chris.
Or Chris's brother.
Chris's brother,
Chris's brother's girlfriend.
Yeah. Christina. That's what she is. Sorry, Rach.
So
Christina. So that's my...
That's fucking horrible.
It is a
that
horrible
sounds...
story.
It could almost be an episode on its own because of the magnitude of it, but actually only one thing happened. It just happened for a long time.
There's no more... There's a lot of information about the trial. But it's not... Because she died, because the mum died. Yeah. Nothing was really cared about to the point
I'm pretty sure as well, like, the description of the room is awful.
Yeah. It's like basically... It was a tiny room.
Was found in and stuff
there was a bed.
Disgusting.
Bear in mind, 25 years. The mattress and the bedding was never changed.
Yeah. And she had complete muscle wastage, didn't she?
She was completely wasted away. She was fed on the scraps. She wasn't
Yeah.
given proper food. She was given like rotting meat, things like that.
I'm like, if you're going to keep her in there because you don't like, at least, give her something to eat.
But let's say you didn't want her to marry a penniless lawyer. It was the fact he wasn't a good lawyer or a profitable lawyer. So you'd rather she rinsed your own money by staying in your house.
Yeah.
Even if you're feeding her scraps, it's still going to cost you something, as opposed to lumbering off with someone else and she might make a couple of pounds or francs even.
Yeah,
pounds.
but I guess it goes to that kind of society where you would rather them dead, literally rather than dead, like honor killings and in this day and age, you'd rather they were dead than put shame upon your family.
Yeah.
Like it's less shameful that they died than it is that they married someone you don't
Which
like.
I find fucking stupid.
It's fucking ridiculous. Fuck those people.
But yeah, so have you got another story?
I have one more.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I'm going to take you back to England, 1676.
Taking you back.
God's Hill in Kent. So John Neverson, he was a highway robber. He was a highwayman.
Spanko?
He did not shout Spanko though. He was pretty good. He lived 1639 to 1694. He was nicknamed Swift Nick by King Charles II.
Oh.
After the truth came out of this story.
Yeah.
So he robbed a traveller near in Kent. Which is just in case anyone doesn't know, in the south of England, right down at the south of England. And he robbed them, and he was like, shit, I need to come up with an alibi.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do? You got to come up, you're a highwayman, you got to come up with an alibi. I don't always worry about an alibi.
I was in another town visiting my mum.
Yeah. And maybe you would then go to a nearby town where your mum lives.
Yeah.
And just be like, I was there.
What did he say?
So what he did, so you do that, maybe you go grab a pint, get a beer, but you make sure you're seen. Like you said, you make sure you're known, you make sure you're seen.
We're telling you how to commit a crime here.
No, he did not do that. He got on his horse
Mm-hmm.
and he rode 200 miles to York in a single day.
Is that even possible?
Whoa.
Did the horse died?
No, well, I don't know. It doesn't say. And then what did he do there?
What?
He met with the Lord Mayor of York,
Yeah.
had a conversation with him. So he was seen by a very important person. He had a big old conversation with him and he had made a bet on a game of bowls with him.
Okay.
And he made sure that the mayor made a note of the time, which was 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So by 8 p.m, he had gotten to York and met with him. And so what happened was, so when he was tried for it and there was a jury, they didn't believe that he would be able to cover that ground in a day.
So he was let off.
So he was let off. So it turns out that he was a veteran of a war, I think, in Normandy. He was skilled with weapons and skilled with horses, and apparently as well he was a right charmer. So he was quite posh, really charming. So felt that he was above other criminals, but also other people wouldn't believe he was a criminal. Wouldn't believe that he could travel 200 miles in a day.
I wouldn't have believed somebody could have done that on a horse.
And was seen by Lord Mayor on the same day. And he got away with it. And I don't know how it came out, but later on the truth came out and he was known as Swift Nick. But again, it's a short story, but I fucking love that story.
I love the fact that people won't believe it. Like, how far can a horse run for? About 200 miles? Well, he can't have done it then.
200 miles by 8 p.m. that day.
That horse must have been pissed.
He must have been tired, man. Like
fucking sitting there, hoofs up on the side. Going,
I drove for it took me 2 hours to get here today. I'm knackered.
And
I sat in a car.
50 miles?
Yeah, I sat in a car. I had a bottle of Coke and some Revels.
I doubt he had any Revels.
I don't reckon.
Or if they were just coffee Revels.
Oh, just coffee. Back then,
coffee.
they just had coffee Revels.
Yeah, they didn't have proper food.
No. None of them. No Maltesers, not even a raisin one.
Not even a topic bar.
Maybe the occasional orange Revel, which is slightly less bad than a coffee Revel.
Yeah, slightly.
Slightly less bad, yeah. But yeah. So that was again short one, but
I have a couple of short factoids.
Cool.
They're not cases. They're factoids. There's a 50 square mile section in Yellowstone National Park where you can get away with murder and any other crime.
Oh, is this the place where technically it isn't under any jurisdiction or something?
Well, it's not just that, but basically, federal land. If you commit a crime on federal land, which a national park is,
okay,
you have the right to a jury trial.
Okay.
That is your right. You cannot,
because it's a federal crime.
Because it's a federal crime. You can demand a federal trial, and they have to give you one by federal law. The only problem is, because it's 50 square miles and where it is, there is no one living there. Because the juries, how they're made up in America, you have to be a local of the place.
Yeah.
And actually local on the land.
So there's no jury pool?
There's no jury pool. So that means if you demand a jury and you've committed murder, they cannot, by their own definition of law, do it. But a guy found this out. Brian Kalt of Michigan State University, who was a law professor, discovered this little loophole in 2005. and sent copies of his research to the lawmakers and suggestions of how to simply fix the issue. His efforts were fruitless, and the area of Yellowstone National Park still remains what is called the murder zone.
So no one gave a shit.
No one gave a shit.
We can do this, and they went.
Well, that's because they went, yeah, in law that's fine, but we're still going to fucking try them. You know, they basically it's like America will skirt around the law rather than just rewrite a little bit.
Just close the loophole.
And talking of America, to take some of my
fruity
second
loophole.
factoids, is are you aware of what necrophilia is?
I am. It's the act of cracking open a cold one.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry.
But yes, it is. It's having sex with the dead. You would think it's illegal, but there is actually no federal law against it. And in some states...
in the state... Okay, in the states still.
In some states, it is a felony offence.
Uh-huh.
But it's a mere misdemeanor in most other states. In over 20 states, though, there is no law at all about necrophilia being any kind of crime.
They would just charge you with, is it like tampering? There's probably like a law about like tampering with the dead, or I can't remember what with a corpse.
It would be, but it is a fine. It's a cash fine.
It's just that you would be treated the same as if you dug up a body and moved it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the term is, but yeah, it's basically tampering with like a dead, with the deceased, with a dead body,
but
with
also,
a corpse. Corpse tampering.
Most other countries in the world
band name.
Do
corpse tamperer.
Oh, nice. But most other countries in the world do not have any laws against necrophilia.
I think, I feel like you should have a law against it.
But but most ones don't have against bestiality either. I mean, some of them do, but it's just called animal cruelty. It's not actually, you can fuck them, but then it's just called animal cruelty. But if the animal that you fucked is walking around and not affected by it, they cannot prosecute you. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. Just write a sentence and put it in the back of the law book saying, don't fuck an animal. I mean, it's simple. Don't bum a corpse. I don't know why he's bumming them, but, you know.
I don't know, but, you know.
But
the horse said nay, and he did it anyway.
But that is the end of my factoids. I've got no more stories.
I'm done.
Well, yeah, I'm done as well.
So this was short and sweet. We hope you enjoyed it as a little bit of I'd say light relief.
Yeah, I mean, do write to us if you know any of other little cases that aren't necessarily full episodes. Please just email us. You'll find the email address. Go to echoonpod.com. You'll see the contact button. You can send us an email. Please send us your
DMS,
stories.
Tweet us. Message us on Facebook.
Even if it's one that you barely know about, but you think, just tell us anyway. Even if
cool.
It's urban legends. Anything that has a crime-related thing that's interesting. It could be short, could be long. We might cover it as a long thing. We'll give you total credit for giving it to us. Not giving it to us. That sounds like we're having sex.
Yeah, no.
It's not sex crime involved. It's mainly crying.
Anyway,
this has been Echo On.
This has been Echo On's True Crime Tapas.
Thank you very much, and we'll be doing part 2 in a few months. But yeah,
I've been Chris.
I've been Christian.
We've been Echo On.
Bye.
Bye.